There's a silence that settles in after a certain age, not the peaceful kind that wraps around you like a warm blanket, but the kind that echoes off the walls of an empty room. You wake up, and the bed next to you is cold. The television murmurs, in the background, not because you're watching, but because it makes the house feel a little less empty. No one calls. The calendar on the wall is filled with blank squares. Time passes, but you can't quite remember what you did yesterday. And the worst part, it didn't happen all at once, it crept in quietly. Maybe you were once surrounded by people, laughter, the chaos of life. Maybe you raised children, built a family, had a partner who knew the rhythm of your heart. But now it's just you. You look around and the life you once lived feels like a story someone else told you. This is the kind of pain that modern society doesn't like to talk about. The pain of outliving your usefulness, of watching others move on while you remain, of feeling like your presence has become optional, like the world is gently forgetting you. Arthur Schopenhauer once said, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone." At first, that sounds like cruel irony to someone living in isolation. But if you stay with this idea, if you don't turn away from it, you'll begin to feel what he really meant. Because there is a difference between loneliness and solitude. And buried inside that difference is something that can change everything. But before we get there, let's be honest about what you're going through. Loneliness in old age isn't just emotional, it's physical. Your chest aches, not from illness, but from longing. Your body, once busy and in demand, now waits. For a purpose, the house is quiet, and that quiet is heavy. It presses down on your spirit. People say you need to get out more. Or worse, you should be grateful you lived a full life. But that only deepens the wound, doesn't it? It makes you feel like you're not allowed to hurt. Like, this sorrow is something you should sweep under the rug. But here's the truth. What you're feeling is not weakness. It is a form of deep human truth. The pain of being alone, especially after years of giving your life to others, is real. And it is worthy of attention. Schopenhauer believed that suffering was the very fabric of existence. But he also believed that by facing this suffering directly, we could transform it. So let's begin there. The first step isn't to run from the pain. It's to sit with it. Yes, sit with it. Don't fill the silence with meaningless noise. Don't drown your thoughts in distraction. Instead, look it in the eye. The grief, the fear, the anger, the regret. Let it speak. Because beneath that, voices something sacred, your true self. When you were younger, your life was about doing, working, raising, fixing, building. You were necessary, you were always needed, and now that need has faded. It feels like you have no identity left. But that's the illusion. You were never just a role. Husband, wife, mother, father, worker. Those were layers, masks, useful, yes, but not the core of who you are. Now, for the first time in perhaps decades, you have the space to find out who you are beneath the noise. That's not loneliness, that's solitude. And solitude is sacred. In solitude, you begin to meet yourself again. At first, it may be frightening. You may not like what you see. The regrets, the missed chances, the guilt, the memories. They come back when the world goes quiet. But don't turn away. They come not to punish you, but to be healed. And healing doesn't come from distraction. It comes from presence. Schopenhauer often reflected that compassion is the basis of morality. Start with compassion for yourself. Don't judge your sadness. Don't fight it. Let it be. Let yourself grieve, not just for the people you lost, but for the version of you that doesn't exist anymore. There is a kind of rebirth happening here, but it is slow and it begins in the dark. Every morning you wake up and that silence greets you again. You want to fight it. You want to curse it. But what if instead you welcomed it? What if you lit a candle, sat with your coffee and asked yourself, what is life showing me right now? What is still inside me that has never had a voice? Old age is not the end of your story. It is the most honest chapter, because for the first time, there's no one left to impress, no more roles to play. You get to be real, you get to feel, you get to listen, not to others but to your own soul. And that is where the gift is hidden. The present inside your pain is presence itself, the ability to be with yourself fully, without distraction or performance, the ability to notice the breeze through the window, the sound of the kettle boiling, The memory of a laugh, now distant but still warm. This is what Schopenhauer meant. Being alone hurts because we resist it. Because we believe it means we are forgotten, left behind, unimportant. But being alone is also the only state where you can truly return to who you are. Without noise, without masks, without needing anyone to tell you that you matter. Because you do. You are still here. You are still breathing. And that means there is still something inside you that matters. Something that wants to be seen, not by others, but by you. So, if today you feel that ache in your chest, that empty chair, next to your bed, that silence in the kitchen where there used to be voices, don't run, breathe, sit, listen, and know this. The pain is real. But so is the gift hidden within it. You are not broken, you are not useless, you are not invisible, you are simply becoming someone new, someone more honest, more present, more whole, and this quiet, lonely chapter might just be the part of your story where you finally find peace. It won't happen all at once. But if you stay here, if you keep breathing, if you stop fighting the silence, something will change. Not outside you, but within. In part 2, we'll explore what to do with your days when the hours stretch on endlessly. We'll talk about meaning, memory, and the quiet power of being. But for now, remember this. Being alone in old age hurts. Until you discover that it's not the end of your story. It might be the beginning. You've made it through the silence. You sat with it, faced it, and maybe, just maybe, you started to feel the faint heartbeat of something you thought was gone. Yourself. But now comes the hardest question of all. What do you do with the long hours that stretch out in front of you? What do you do when the days seem empty and endless, and the world moves on without you? Most people never prepare you for this. They teach you how to work, how to raise a family, how to survive, but they never teach you how to be alone, especially not in old age. And yet here you are, still breathing, still waking up, still carrying a life that demands to be understood. Schopenhauer believed that the world is driven by an endless striving, a restless will that never finds peace. When we're young, we're caught in it. We chase goals, build careers, nurture families, constantly moving, never pausing. But when that chase ends, when the noise stops, we are left with ourselves. That is where the second transformation begins. In solitude, your mind becomes louder. Your memories start speaking to you. Some are kind, others painful, but all of them are trying to tell you something. They are the echoes of a life lived. And within those echoes are seeds of meaning. What if the purpose of this chapter isn't to do more but to understand deeper, to reflect, to reprocess, to find truth not in motion but in stillness? When you were younger, everything demanded your time. Now time belongs to you. That can feel terrifying or liberating. And that choice, how you frame it, is the beginning of freedom. So what do you do when you wake up and no one is waiting for you? You listen, not to the news, not to the noise, but to yourself. What is unresolved in you? What pain still lingers? What stories need to be told, even if no one hears them but you? Because here is the secret. Your soul is still listening, writing in silence, healing slowly. Schopenhauer said, "It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else." And he was right. You may be alone now, but that doesn't mean you are empty. Inside you lives an entire universe of thought, memory, emotion, and meaning. You simply haven't had the space to hear it until now. Start small, write something down, a sentence, a feeling, a memory that keeps visiting you, not for others, for you. Not to post or share, but to understand. Maybe there was a conversation you never had. Maybe you missed someone and never got to say goodbye. Maybe you still carry guilt for something that happened 50 years ago. This is your chance to bring it into the light, not to fix it, but to finally see it. There is something powerful about telling the truth to yourself. No audience, no applause, just truth. That's where healing begins. You may think your story no longer matters, but it does, because you are the only one who lived it. And if you don't see it, fully honestly, it risks being lost. Every scar, every lesson, every moment of kindness or regret. They are pieces of you. And when you begin to see them with compassion instead of shame or judgment, you begin to feel whole again. This is what it means to age with dignity. Not to pretend you're young, not to run from your loneliness, but to see your life clearly and to embrace it for what it was and still is, yours. There's a reason older trees grow stronger roots. Time has given them depth, and you too have roots that go deep into experiences, places, people, emotions that shaped you. Now is the time to sit beneath the shade of your own branches and reflect. There is great dignity in solitude when it is chosen, embraced, and honored. That is the gift hidden in the pain. Yes, it hurts, but it also invites you inward, to sit in that quiet space and ask questions you were never allowed to ask before. Who am I now that no one needs me? What do I want from the time I have left? What kind of peace am I still searching for? These aren't easy questions, but you don't need answers right away. You only need the courage to ask. And you already have that. You're still here. You've lost people. You've lost roles. You've lost structure. But you are still standing. That is no small thing. Every breath you take now is an act of quiet strength. Every morning you rise, you're defying the lie that your life no longer matters. It does. And if no one else has told you this recently, I see you, you matter, your presence matters, your life, every chapter is meaningful. Even this one, especially this one. Because this chapter is where you come home to yourself. You don't need to fill your days with empty tasks. Instead, create simple rituals. Light a candle, drink your tea slowly, go for a walk, and notice the wind. Watch the sky change. Read something that stirs your spirit. Reflect, not out of boredom, but out of reverence for the path you've walked. Start a journal, not to record events, but to reconnect with yourself. Each word is a thread, slowly sewing your inner world back together. If writing isn't your way, then sit in stillness. Listen to music. Let your emotions move freely without shame. Cry if you must, smile if you can. But above all, be honest. There's no need to pretend anymore. You have earned the right to be exactly who you are, as you are, without justification. That is the gift of aging. The mask is off, and the person underneath is still here, still whole, still worthy of love, even if that love must begin within. Schopenhauer's worldview may seem bleak at first. He believed that suffering was inherent to life, but he also believed in the power of contemplation, in the richness of inner life. And that is where you are now, not in the chaos of the outer world, but in the depth of the inner one. Loneliness in old age is real, but so is self-discovery. You are not who you were, and that's okay. Because who you are now is wiser, more tender, more aware. Don't let the world rush you. You move at the pace of your soul now, and it knows the way forward even when your mind is unsure. In the next part, we'll explore the hidden power of memory and how revisiting the past can heal more than it hurts. But for now, know this. You are not just passing time, you are uncovering truth. And sometimes the most important part of your life happens in the stillness after everyone else is gone. This is not the end. It's the return to yourself. Memory is a strange companion. It arrives uninvited. It drifts in during quiet mornings or just before sleep. Sometimes it's soft and warm, a scent from the kitchen, a voice from the past, the sound of laughter at the dinner table. Other times it is sharp, piercing, like a regret you can't undo or a goodbye you didn't see coming. In old age, memory becomes a constant. You are no longer racing toward the future. You are surrounded by the echoes of what has been, and that can feel both beautiful and unbearably painful. But Schopenhauer believed that memory is not merely a record of the past. It is a doorway into truth. Not the truth others saw, but the truth as you experienced it, the truth only you carry. So today let us sit with memory, not to judge, not to fix, but to witness. Because the stories inside you are not dead. They are living pieces of you, waiting to be seen. You may think, what good is it to remember things that are gone? But remembering is not just looking back. It is retrieving the parts of yourself that were left behind, the child you were, the mistakes you made, the love you gave, the love you lost. These are not just memories. They are fragments of your soul. And when you face them with compassion, something changes. Instead of haunting you, they begin to teach you. Schopenhauer once said that we can do what we will, but we cannot will what we will. Meaning, we do not choose our desires, our impulses, our attachments. We live them. We react, we fall, we love, we break, we do the best we can with what we knew then. And now, with more years behind you than ahead, you get the rare chance to look back, not with shame, but with understanding. That is a powerful gift. You see, aging doesn't just give you wrinkles, it gives you a wider lens. You start to see how every piece of your life connected, even the ones that felt broken. You begin to understand that even your regrets carried meaning. Even your pain shaped your heart. So if a memory visits you today, let it stay. Let it speak. Don't rush it away. Don't label it good or bad. Just listen. Maybe it's the face of someone who's gone. Maybe it's a moment you wish you could relive. Maybe it's a failure that still tightens your chest. Whatever it is, let it pass through you like wind through leaves. You are not that moment. But that moment helped make you. And if you can sit with it without judgment, you free yourself from the shame that has clung to you for years. This is what healing in solitude looks like. Not dramatic, not loud, but quiet, gentle, deep. You begin to see yourself not as a list of mistakes, but as someone who lived, really lived. You gave your love. You tried your best. You hurt others. Others hurt you. You lost things you didn't deserve to lose. You made choices that didn't always make sense, but you survived. And that matters. Memory, then, is not a trap. It is a bridge. A way to walk back through your life and pick up the pieces of yourself that you once abandoned. That version of you who was scared. That version who didn't know better. That version who loved with everything and was left behind. They are still part of you, and they are waiting to be held. Not fixed, held. Because sometimes the healing doesn't come from answers, but from acknowledgement, from saying, yes, that happened, yes, I felt that, yes, I wish it were different, but I'm still here. That kind of honesty is what Schopenhauer called philosophical clarity, a deep seeing into the nature of things without illusion. It's not about pretending life is always beautiful. It's about seeing that even in its pain, life has meaning. Especially in its pain. You may wonder, why remember if it only makes me cry? But tears are not weakness, tears are release. They are your body letting go of what it held for too long. And on the other side of those tears, something softer waits, a calm, a peace, a moment where you finally feel whole again. So give yourself permission to remember. Look at old photos, write down stories, say their names out loud, light a candle, speak to the silence. It's not about living in the past. It's about bringing the past into the light, so it no longer controls you from the dark. And when you do this, something extraordinary happens. Gratitude begins to return. Not the naive kind, not the surface-level kind, but the deep, quiet gratitude of someone who knows what it means to lose and still chooses to love anyway. Gratitude for the fact that you got to love someone at all. Gratitude for the moments even if they're gone. Gratitude for the chance to feel deeply. That is no small thing. That is life at its most honest. And it is something not everyone gets to experience. Schopenhauer believed that art and contemplation were among the highest human experiences because they allow us to transcend the blind striving of life and simply witness. When you remember your life, when you sit in that quiet space and reflect, you are engaging in that same sacred act. You are witnessing yourself. And that witnessing is a form of love. You are saying, I see you, you mattered, you still do. So don't be afraid of your memories, don't push them away. Welcome them like old friends, even the painful ones, especially the painful ones, because they are keys, and each one unlocks a deeper understanding of who you are. You're not just an old person passing time. You are a soul gathering wisdom, and that wisdom is meant to be honored. Not everyone will see it, not everyone will ask for it. But that doesn't make it less real. You know what you've lived through, you know what you carry, and now in this quiet chapter, you get to decide how to carry it. With peace, with presence, with grace. You don't need to perform. You don't need to impress, you just need to be. And that is enough, more than enough. In Part 4, we'll explore what it means to connect again, not through busy crowds or forced conversation, but through meaning, presence, and quiet acts of courage. But until then, sit with your memories. Let them speak. Let them soften you. Let them remind you you are still living. And even now there is something beautiful left to feel. You've faced the silence. You've sat with your pain. You've walked through memory with courage and compassion. Now, something begins to shift. The question rises, what next? You've gone inward. You've seen who you are beneath the noise. But the human heart still longs to be seen, not just by ourselves but by others. Even in old age, especially in old age. And yet, connection after 60, after 70, after loss, feels almost impossible. The world moves fast. Technology replaces. Conversations, friends pass away, family gets busy, and you begin to wonder, is it too late to belong to someone again? Is it too late to feel needed, to feel seen? Schopenhauer didn't believe that life was meant to make us happy, but he did believe we could rise above the chaos of desire and illusion through clarity, contemplation, and compassion. In other words, you may not find what you had before, but you can find something deeper now. Connection at this stage is not about noise, it's about meaning, presence, being with someone without masks, without roles, just presence. But here's the truth many don't say out loud. That kind of connection must begin with you. You cannot wait for the world to knock on your door. You must become the invitation. This doesn't mean forcing yourself into uncomfortable spaces or pretending to be someone you're not. It means bringing your honest self into the world in small, sacred ways. A smile to the cashier, a quiet conversation at the park, a note to an old friend, a phone call not for help but to say, I was thinking of you. You are not invisible, but people won't see you until you allow yourself to be seen again. And that begins with courage. Courage to show up, even when you're scared. Courage. To be honest, even when it's awkward. Courage to offer your presence, not your perfection. We live in a world that worships youth and productivity. But there is another kind of power, one that comes only with age. The power of stillness, of deep listening, of gentle wisdom. And believe it or not, the world is starving for that. There are people, young and old, who need exactly what you carry. Not advice, not lectures, just presence. A calm voice, a kind eye, a story told at the right moment. You may think your time has passed, but some of your most important offerings may still be ahead. Think of a time someone made you feel seen. Maybe it was just a word, a touch, a glance. And now ask yourself, could I offer that to someone else today? This is connection in its purest form, and it often begins in the smallest ways. But before you reconnect with others, you must reconnect with life itself. Not life as it was, but life as it is now. Wake up and greet the morning as if it's an old friend. Step outside and feel the air on your face. Listen, not with expectation, but with attention. When you eat, taste it fully. When you move, feel your body with gratitude, not resentment. When you sit, breathe. This may sound simple, but it is sacred. This is the practice of presence, and presence opens the door to connection, because the more present you are with yourself, the more present you become with others. And presence is rare, precious, healing. You don't need to fill your calendar. You don't need to entertain, you just need to be. And in being, you become a beacon, soft, steady, real. That is enough to draw others near. And if they don't come, that's okay too, because presence also heals the wound of needing to be needed. It teaches you to sit with yourself without panic, to enjoy your own company, to laugh at your own thoughts, to walk with your own memories. That is strength, real strength, and that strength allows for a different kind of connection, not based on need, but on resonance. You may meet someone, a neighbor, a stranger, a child, who feels seen by you simply because you were fully there. That is more powerful than 1,000 empty conversations. You don't have to fix people. You don't have to save anyone. Just be real, be kind, be there. That is how you become part of the world again, not by forcing yourself into it, but by being fully yourself within it. And let's talk about grief, because connection can awaken old wounds. When you begin to open again, you may feel the ache of those who are no longer here. That's okay. Let the ache be part of it. You are not betraying the past by living in the present. The love you had is not replaced by new connections. It is expanded. Your heart is not a box with limited space. It is a sky wide enough to hold everything. Love lost, love remembered, love given again. This is what it means to live fully, to carry sorrow and joy in the same breath, to hold memory and possibility in the same hand. Schopenhauer saw suffering as the core of existence, but he also saw that in suffering we become capable of deeper compassion. And what is connection, if not compassion, made visible? So today begin again, not with grand gestures but with small ones. Sit on a bench and offer a smile, leave the radio off and listen to the world. Send a message just to say, "You crossed my mind." Not everyone will respond. Not everyone will notice. But that's not the point. The point is that you returned to life, that you extended yourself with softness, not fear, that you opened the window and let light in, not for anyone else but because you were ready. Ready to feel again, to love again, to live again, even if only in small ways, especially in small ways. Life at this stage is not about volume. It's about depth. One quiet connection can feed the soul for days. One real moment can remind you that you are still here, still human, still open. You may be alone, but you are not disconnected. The thread is still there, and every day you choose to stay open, that thread grows stronger. In Part 5, we will explore what it means to make peace with life as it is, not as it was, not as you hoped, but as it stands now. Because in that peace you may discover something you never expected, contentment. But for now, carry this with you. The world may have changed, your relationships may have faded, but your ability to connect with life, with others, with yourself is still alive, and that is enough to begin again. And you've walked through silence, sat with pain, faced memory, opened to presence, reached for connection, and now you arrive here, in the quietest place of all. Acceptance, not the kind that gives up, not the kind that shrugs at life and says, "This is just how it is." No, this kind of acceptance is deeper, braver. It says, "This is what I have and I will meet it fully." It is the kind of peace that doesn't erase sorrow, but carries it gently, without letting it drown you. Arthur Schopenhauer did not believe in a world of endless positivity. He saw life as filled with struggle, longing, disappointment. But he also believed that if we stopped expecting the world to make us happy, we might just find something better, clarity, and through that clarity, peace. Peace not built on illusions, but on the truth of what is. Aging is not a failure. It is a return to essence. When all the roles fall away, parent, worker, provider, caretaker, what remains? You, just you as you are, as you've always been beneath it all. The world no longer needs you to be anything, and for some that feels like loss. But it is also freedom. You are no longer obligated to prove, to perform, to strive. You can just be. And that is a gift few ever experience. You can sit in a chair and simply exist. You can breathe without rushing. You can look at a tree for an hour and let it be enough. In that stillness, something returns. A sense of being that is not about what you do, but who you are. A quiet awareness, a gentle knowing, a sense that maybe, just maybe, everything led you here for a reason. Schopenhauer wrote of the will, that blind force inside all living things, always striving, never satisfied. But he also believed that through deep reflection, through the experience of art, music, philosophy, we could transcend that will even for a moment. In other words, we could find peace not by achieving more, but by wanting less. That is the wisdom of age. You begin to see what really matters. A warm cup of tea, a beam of sunlight across the floor, a kind word, a silent prayer, the breath in your lungs, life stripped down to its core, and it is enough. More than enough. You do not need a crowd to witness your worth. You do not need applause to feel complete. Your life has already spoken. Your legacy lives not in fame, but in the hearts you touched, in the moments you showed up, in the love you gave. And now your task is no longer to build, but to bless, to bless this moment, this breath, this version of yourself, exactly as you are. You may feel tired, you may feel fragile, but you are also rich, rich in experience, in stories, in insight. You see things others miss. You understand things they haven't learned yet. That is power, quiet power. And with it comes responsibility, not to change the world, but to greet it gently. To look at life, even with all its pain, and say, thank you. Thank you for the beauty, for the lessons, for the people who came and went, for the memories both sweet and sharp. Thank you for letting me live long enough to learn what truly matters. And what truly matters is not perfection, not success, but presence, gratitude, grace, being. There is a kind of spiritual clarity that can only come at this stage, when you are no longer chasing, when you stop waiting for some final achievement, when you stop needing everything to make sense, and you simply sit and breathe and feel. That's where the healing happens. That's where peace lives. In the space between striving and surrender, in the moment you stop fighting what is and start welcoming it. Your loneliness, too, has softened. It no longer feels like a punishment. It feels like a companion, one that reminds you to slow down, to notice, to remember that even being alone you are still alive, and in that aliveness there is still beauty, still mystery, still meaning. Maybe not the kind you expected, but the kind you need. You have lived through so much, and now you are learning to live through stillness, through silence, through self. You are learning to see that life, even in its final chapters, holds treasures, not of gold or glory, but of wisdom, of presence, of soul, and you get to choose what to do with that treasure. You can sit in bitterness, or you can sit in wonder. You can mourn what is gone, or you can bless what remains. You can carry regret, or you can carry reverence. The choice is yours. It always has been, and now, perhaps more than ever, you are ready to choose well, to walk slowly, to speak kindly, to smile when no one is watching, to forgive the past, to soften the heart, to be a light even if only to yourself. That is enough. You are enough. Even now. Especially now. There is no need to rush, no need to seek answers. Simply return, again and again, to this moment, to this breath, to this stillness, and in it you will find what Schopenhauer tried to teach through all his words, that life is not about escaping suffering, but understanding it, living through it, growing within it, and discovering on the other side something resembling peace, not the loud peace of triumph, but the quiet peace of truth. You've lived, you've lost, you've learned, and now you are still here, breathing, witnessing, becoming. And that, dear soul, is a miracle. Let this be the chapter where you stop searching and start seeing, where you stop fighting and start flowing, where you stop doubting and start trusting yourself, your path, your life. It doesn't have to be perfect, it only has to be real, and you are entirely real, entirely worthy, entirely whole, even here, even now. So breathe and rest and know this. You are not alone, you are not forgotten, you are not finished, you are simply arriving, at last, into the deepest part of yourself. And from that place, everything begins again.